Hi, I am Connie Zabo-Schmucker. I'm Advocacy Director at Bicycle Garage Indy and BGI Fitness. And we are pleased to present this webinar. Phil Campbell is joining us from sunny California to talk about the science behind sprint intensity cardio, which you'll find out all about later. Brad Farrar is joining us from Matrix and Johnson Fitness, and Paul Crimmins from BGI Fitness. We have a couple of upcoming events that are in person with Phil in 2 weeks on the 26th and 27th of this month. So 2 weeks from tonight at our Greenwood BGI Fitness store and 2 weeks from tomorrow night at our North store. BGIfitness.com for details, and I'll put that also in the chat. We have, if you don't know about BGI Fitness, we have 2 stores, one on the north side of Indianapolis on 82nd Street and one on County Line Road in Greenwood. And we have good inventory right now, which is great. And we're a full service fitness equipment retailer. That means we sell equipment. We sell fitness equipment. We do delivery, we do installation, we do repairs, and we do maintenance on them. So Sprint 8, which you'll find out about, is a high intensity cardio program, and it is programmed in on the Matrix equipment. So once you find out about it tonight, feel free to come to our stores and check it out on the equipment that we've got. And I think at this point, I'm going to put up a poll so that we have an idea about the people who are here. So I'm going to launch the poll. And there's 4 questions. So I'm going to give you all a little bit of time to go ahead and answer those. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in either the chat or the Q&A, and Brad, Paul, and or I will answer them, or we'll have Phil answer them. So, if you have questions along the way and it's something that would be good for Phil to answer, then we'll go ahead and have him do that. Otherwise, we'll do written answers. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to put those in as well. So I think I'll go ahead and let's see. All right, so some people have fitness equipment. 5 out of the 8 who have answered, 2 do not, but 1 works out at a fitness center. 1 person attending has tried Sprint 8. The rest of them have not. And 1 person watched the video of last year's webinar. Others, most of them have not attended Phil's presentations before. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. So this is new information for the majority of the people. And so you're in for a treat because there's a lot of information here. And if you're in the Indianapolis area, we encourage you to come to our stores and test it out once you've found out all about the science behind the Sprint 8. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and I'll share the results just so you can see them for a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Phil, unless Brad or Paul would like to say anything.
Yeah, before Phil gets started, I just wanted to thank Connie and Paul Crimmins from BGI Fitness. We've had a great partnership. I work for Johnson Health Tech. We're based out of Cottage Grove, Wisconsin, which is up near Madison, and I represent the Matrix brand. BGI has been one of our distributors for well over 20 years now, and I've had the opportunity to work with Paul and Connie and obviously Phil Campbell. I think we're probably going on, I don't know, is it 15, 16 years now that we've been working together and talking about the benefits of Sprint 8. And it's appreciated, all the work that you guys put in. So thank you for that. I wanted to introduce Phil and have him get going here and tell you all the great things and the benefits of working hard, but also doing it in a short amount of time where you have a lot of extra time to do other things besides get on and jump on a piece of cardio for an hour. You can get a lot of great results in a very short amount of time. So I'll turn it over to Phil, but Paul and Connie, thank you for hosting us again, and look forward to answering any questions throughout the presentation.
Well, it's great for me to be here. Let me just second what Brad said. Connie and Paul are outstanding. They're wonderful people. They really care about their customers, and that's what I appreciate about them so much. If anybody can get you a deal, go see Paul. He can get you the best deal going. And come by. If you like the science and you want to give it a try, please come by and actually do the program. You don't have to do all 8. You just want to do a couple of reps the right way, and you'll be an expert on how to do that. But we're going to cover more in-depth science when I'm there. But it's nothing like, you almost just have to come and try it. Come dressed, you'll have fun, you'll leave smiling, I promise you. No more ambulances like the last couple of years. That was a joke. We don't have ambulances have to come. But sometimes there's an eye storm going on. But I wanted to always start with this wonderful lady right here, Louise Smith. She's age 89, and we're going to hear from her right off the bat because she makes a compelling argument that every time I see that, it just motivates me to try to go even harder and faster on Sprint 8.
Okay, and what does your doctor say about you doing the program?
Well, first I want to thank Matrix for providing the program and Angie for promoting it. My doctor, first the cardiologist, when I went in, I just wanted to be sure I wasn't doing anything that I shouldn't against my pacemaker, which I've had for 11 years, and also just not wearing my heart out. I checked with him, and when I mentioned Sprint 8, he started laughing. And I thought, oh, me. But he said to his assistant, who he had walking around with him everywhere, he said, can you believe this woman, 89 years old, is doing Sprint 8? And he said, you go right ahead. Do not get above 120 in your pulse, your heart rate. And unfortunately, I'm not very disciplined, and I get just a little bit above, but thank goodness you have the heart rate there, and I am being better about it. But the thing about Sprint 8, and I'm carrying on, but I had fibromyalgia often, and I had to have medication for it. And since I've been doing Sprint 8, I've not had any medication. I've not had any fibromyalgia. I also have a pinched nerve in my shoulder that ran up to my neck, that when that hit, it was paralyzing pain. I have not had any of that problem. So in essence, Sprint 8 has saved my life. It's changed it for sure and made it a lot more comfortable. And the least to say, I was one of those that weighed in every day and still do. I weigh in every day. But it used to be I weighed in to see what I could eat that day and how much. Now I weigh in just for the comfort of knowing that I'm okay. I'm in control. And I love my Sprint 8. Tell people to call me. I'd be glad to tell them all about it. Thank you so much, Matrix.
And you know, she really means call me. And now she's actually in a YMCA in Virginia, but I think she went to University of Alabama and was displaying that. This is what Sprint 8 looks like in a class in New York City. This is what Sprint 8 looks like in Dubai. And this is what it looks like in Indy some of the times. So we had to get Paul Crimmins in there. That was, I think 16 years is right, Brad. It's been a long time. And for me, coming there, it's just a wonderful trip. I look forward to it every year. It's really more like going to a family reunion than it is to another meeting. Sprint 8 was created to basically when I was around 40 years old, which was 30 years ago. And it was created based on the research about exercise-induced growth hormone. And we've seen some wonderful things then. And the reason why that's so significant is that the research shows that exercise can actually mimic taking growth hormone injections. And we compared it to 2 hospital-based studies. And in both those studies, we compared it to what we knew about from the research about injecting growth hormone. And we'll hit a couple slides on that. But the big deal about that is right down the road from the corporate headquarters of Matrix, Madison, Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, Dr. Rubin lined up some older guys and basically injected them with growth hormone, tracked them for 8 weeks. Average case, they lost 14% body fat, they put on 8% lean muscle mass, bone density, appearance, many things reversed based upon the theory, his theory that at aging, we can slow the aging process and the symptoms of aging if we inject growth hormone. What we're arguing is you can do it naturally with exercise without having to go to an endocrinologist and inject this powerful hormone that costs $1,000 a month, maybe more than that now, that really does work. I mean, it works, but when you compare that to exercise, what you're going to see is the average loss is 27% body fat versus 14 with injections. So in many respects, it's almost twice as effective as actually injecting this substance, which is powerful. It works, but exercise works better. We've got it now. The sprinting is 20 minutes, 3 times a week. More is not better. You can do more, but it's not better because it takes about 48 hours for your fast twitch fiber to totally recover. The leading researcher in the world is Dr. Richard Godfrey. He basically, he is the leading guy in actual researching it. And so he started doing Sprint 8. And he basically said, I've been able to use the energy boost in this type of training and think about going back playing masters football for him, soccer for us. And he said he lost 7 pounds. But the big thing here is about the energy boost, because when people do Sprint 8, you're changing your body at the cellular level. So we know that mitochondria produces ATP, which is energy in the body. If you want to increase your endurance, you have to increase the number and the efficiency of your mitochondria. When you use Sprint 8 to do that, you change your body to cellular level to as much as Kabbalah's research shows, double and even triple that in a short amount of time. So in 2 weeks' time, 3 workouts a week on a program that's less intense than Sprint 8, similar to the Sprint 7, but a much longer recovery, takes more time. You can double endurance capacity, 3 workouts a week in 2 weeks' time. So if you're an endurance athlete and cycling, triathlete, you want to increase endurance, we're going to give you a great tool to do that. It 3 times a week, 20 minutes. I'm going to say that before we get there. There's 4 benchmarks that you have to hit to get this huge release of growth hormone. And it's not a small release. So if you were to come and do Sprint 8 with us, and we hope you will, 2 to 4 reps first time out. Some people do all 8, and that's great. But I've only had, in 30 years, I've only had about 5 people actually do all 8 reps the right way. And they were typically professional soccer athletes. But there are 4 benchmarks. You got to get totally out of breath, short amount of time, muscles burning through the lactate process. You got to increase your body temperature, and you have to hit the adrenal response. And the adrenal response, I know a lot of people don't like me talking about this, but it's got to be a little bit painful. The adrenal response, when you hit that, great things happen in your body, but it's one of the key points that you have to achieve in order to get this huge release of growth hormone. But the release is not just a small amount. If you came and did Sprint 8 with us in the next couple of weeks, and we pulled your blood afterwards, if you were an Olympic athlete, more probably not, you would test false positive for injecting growth hormone. It's not just a small amount, it's a huge amount. They show in a body of research at the University of Virginia Medical Center over 30 years time that it stays circulating your body, going after body fat for 2 full hours, irrespective of body temperature, irrespective of a lot of different things, but it's going after body fat, building muscle for 2 hours, like you're doing pretty intense cardio for 2 hours, and you've got 20 minutes invested in it. And that's it to achieve the full 8. Research driven, here are the results for the King Charles Medical Center studies. Average age 46, Louise, 89 years old. I've seen 2 males in a Sprint 8 class, observed them for basically 5 years, doing Sprint 8 3 times a week, got incredible results. But also we had a lot of middle-aged women who absolutely love the program because there's so many benefits in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I think females think, well, sprinting, that's a guy's thing, but the research actually shows it is slightly more effective for women than for men. Very effective for men, but slightly more effective for women. So ladies, if you're watching this, you got to come and give it a try. The lady on the left here, Celine Craig's HR director at King's Daughters, she went through the program. It was mostly physician and nurse volunteers, and she ended up losing 80 pounds during the program. We've had tremendous success with it. One of the physicians on the committee, Dr. Jeff Ross, said, the only way you get more body fat off than this is you're going to have to cut it off. This is an unbelievable program. We had one male nurse in the program, had to drop out for wrist surgery unrelated to Sprint 8. He had an accident in his yard. And even dropping out of the program for 2 weeks, he still lost 25 pounds. And we see tremendous results in cholesterol. We have a lot of 50-point drops in cholesterol and even some 100-point drops in total cholesterol. What is Sprint 8? This is what it looks like. The film may be a little loud. What it looks like at home or a Vision Fitness or a Matrix retail unit that Paul has. That's actually King's Daughters Medical Center where we did the 2 hospital-based studies. There's many different ways to do it. You can do it as more of an athlete. This is on a piece of equipment that Matrix developed primarily for athletes and functional training centers where you can basically sprint. There's different ways to do reps. But the key is you have to recruit all 3 muscle fiber types. This is Dylan, 14-year-old swimmer. When he joined the Sprint 8 class, he's now had offers.
Way to pump Dylan.
You can hear his voice. That's what you have to do to accomplish Sprint 8. His dad, Conrad, is working with him. Dylan has offers from 30 colleges in swimming. The reason why his dad brought him to the class is because he thought he wasn't going to make the team. And he doubled his endurance in a short amount of time. His athletic performance went up, and he is a hard worker too. This is a famous guy right here. Anybody's watching little baseball these days, that's Mike Trout, one of the highest paid players. I think he is the highest paid player ever using that piece of equipment. This is Dr. Shell Singh, our medical director, who, when we do research project, his name is on it. And he's showing an advanced dismount here that's important if you do Sprint 8 on a treadmill. Sprint 8 on a treadmill is a little bit more complicated because your finger determines the velocity of movement. In the other modalities, like the ascent trainer, the elliptical, you determine the velocity. So it's easier to do a Sprint 8 on those modalities. They put the Sprint 8 zone there. You can see the ascent trainers there. And I hope you'll come and try all the different modalities to find which one you like the best. But for years, the way I've described this, you've got activity, traditional cardio, HIIT, high intensity interval training. And unfortunately, HIIT has become so watered down. It's not almost high intensity anymore. What it is anything that's on or off for a period of time, that gets the term HIIT. I saw a sign the other day that we do HIIT yoga. I didn't think that was possible, but somehow or another, they can do that. And then the next level up in intensity is sprint intensity or sprint interval training. This was coined by the military about 5 years ago because it had been watered down so much. But that was a bit of a mistake the way I initially showed it, because this is really the difference. There's a significant difference in intensity. But if you want the best results, the superior results that no other form of exercise will give you, this is what you have to do, is add sprint intensity. But it has to be applied in just the right formula. And we spent years and years working on that formula to get it right. Now, this gets a little on the side, but this right here is probably the most important slide I could ever show you. The reason why is when the body moves, basically you have 3 different muscle fiber types. So if I were to cut the muscle, we were to look at the end of it, there would be 3 different muscle fiber types, basically 3 different colors of muscle. The slow type 1 would be a dark red because it has a lot of blood. Basic human movement is done with slow twitch fiber, and your brain thinks it's doing you a favor not to recruit the fast twitch 2A that moves 5 times faster than the slow. And it definitely works hard at not recruiting the fast twitch 2X. The light colored muscle fiber doesn't need a lot of blood because it's meant to be used like a sprinter would sprint, or somebody lifting heavy objects, or an emergency situation. And that's what your brain's doing. There's one nerve connected to all the slow twitch fiber. There's a different nerve connected to the fast twitch 2A. And then there's a different nerve that's connected to all of the fast twitch 2X fiber there. And so it's just like flipping on 3 switches of electricity in your house. Light number 1 comes on, the first switch comes on, and your brain tries to do all movement in slow twitch fiber and conserve the fast twitch fiber in case you need it for an emergency situation. But then when you're going hard and fast like sprint 8, your brain says, whoops, slow twitch is not adequate to accomplish the task. I've got to recruit the fast twitch 2A. So you flip that other switch on. So that nerve energizes all of your fast twitch 2A. And you can notice there's not that many slow twitch fiber. There's a lot of fast twitch 2A fiber, and there's a whole lot of fast twitch 2X fiber that moves 10 times faster than slow, but it's laying dormant. And those cells, if we don't use them, they atrophy. But they're still there. You can slowly build those back up safely by doing sprint 8, starting with 2 reps, slowly building up to 8. And you keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So actually you're building more muscle. But those cells are inside your muscle now. They're just small because we pretty much never recruit those cells. Where you're through playing high school football or running track, go jog a marathon. Nothing wrong with jogging a marathon, but you're primarily using your slow twitch fiber to propel that movement. So that muscle gets stronger, but the other 2 nerve switches don't get clicked on unless you intentionally force it to be recruited. But the great news about that is you don't have to do a lot, but you have to go hard and fast in order to get your brain to accomplish that. This next slide shows that a little bit. If you take a look on the left here, you've got the dark fiber, the slow twitch fiber that propels basic movement. Then for HIIT type of programs, more intensity, there's a lot more nerves getting invigorated here. And then you've got the super fast fiber. Look how many nerves are connected back to the spinal cord and the brain. So now you're hitting all of this nervous this fiber. So you're basically recruiting much more muscle fiber. So now your heart muscle has to work anaerobically to oxygenate or attempt to oxygenate quite literally 2 to 3 times the amount of muscle fiber normally used in an exercise. And let's look at this right here. Endurance runners have the most slow twitch fiber. Most people believe that. Most people believe that sprinters have the most fast muscle fiber. Well, let's see what the research says. This research was done by the TAPS. There's a father, son. They're actually at a university in Indiana. They do some great research there. I would have thought, if you look at this right here, this is a slow twitch fiber dart. I would have thought the distance runners would have had the most slow twitch fiber, or the recreational runners, or even competitive swimmers. But who has the most slow twitch fiber? The sprinter. Isn't that interesting? Who works the 2A fiber, which is probably being recruited in many forms of HIIT? Resistance guys lifting heavy weights are using a lot of 2A fiber. Everybody uses pretty much some 2A. They recruit that if they do any type of interval training at all. But who does the most? Sprinters recruit the most 2A fiber. Who recruits the 2X fiber? Only the sprinters. You have to do sprint intensity cardio in order to get there. It has to be hard and fast. So that's what we've spent years doing, working with Matrix Healthcare to build. I really believe the Ascent Trainer, for example, is the finest cardio unit ever made in history. And that includes me going back to evaluate equipment at DeLand, Florida in 1972. So I've seen a lot of change, seen a lot of things happen, but they make the best equipment. It's made for Sprint 8. It is so durable because of that. You can get on it. You can test drive that with any other piece of equipment and just try that. There's no comparison. Their equipment's the best. And because it's made for Sprint 8, you hit the Sprint 8 button, it takes you through the program. You have a 3-minute warm up. You go hard, fast as you can for 30 seconds. You go nice and easy, recruiting, just recovering for 1.5 minutes, slowly build up to 8 reps. What we're trying to do with Sprint 8, we're trying to train every human being alive, including Miss Smith, 89 years old Miss Smith. We're trying to train her like a sprinter, except in a safe way, because she has 3 muscle fiber types she'll keep all her life. Now she's using them. And great things are happening. I can't tell you how many older adults in their 70s, 80s, 90s love Sprint 8 because they feel young again. It's incredible how it does. But you're working 3 muscle fiber types, and that fast twitch 2A is atrophied with most people unless you're running sprints or swimming sprints or doing some type of sprint cardio. So basically what we're doing is training you just like we would a trainer in college, a sprinter in college, except we're doing it safe. We're not going out there and running. We're doing a piece of cardio where your hamstrings are protected. And I've had basically 0 injuries with doing Sprint 8 on a piece of cardio, including a treadmill. Now, your enemy, I've talked about this for years. Your body tries to do things with slow twitch fiber in the endurance energy system so you can endure. And it thinks it's doing you a favor to stay in slow twitch fiber mode, just in case you need that. And what the researchers have named that is the exercise paradox. Your brain always tries to do things the easy way. Now, you may take the stairs, but your brain always says first, there's the elevator. Always. It's doing you a favor. It's doing what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't know that you're trying to get a great workout in 20 minutes. So you have to force the recruitment of fast twitch fiber. And that's what Sprint 8 is designed to do. So here's what it looks like. You've got a 3-minute warm up, nice and slow, slowly build up, heart rate starting to gradually increase, hard sprint, 90-second active recovery, and you never want to rush the active recovery. If you rush this at all, this next sprint is it's not going to be up here. It's going to be way down here. You might do 1 or 2 the right way sprints, even if you're extremely fit. But if you rush that 90-second recovery, it's a mistake because you're not going to recruit fast twitch fiber for the rest of these reps. That's why the 90 seconds is so important. This is a score you get on many pieces of equipment. They have several control panels, and Brad, Paul are experts on those pieces. But this right here is sweat score. So after you do the Sprint 8, getting all 8 reps, the first one, this person scored 136. See, the average is 117. So a good way to do this is do Sprint 8, take a picture of it on your cell phone, and you'll see almost every workout for the first 6 months. You set a PR. I never would have believed that until Matrix created the sweat score. And the sweat score is basically tied to joules, Joules, which is a true measure of power like watts, but it's just an easier number to relate to. Watts might be 600-700. For most females, it's going to be a 1 to 100, 120 system. Most males going to be around 1 to 120, maybe a little bit higher. And so this is a really fit female, a group train. I mean, this is Miss Cardio. This lady is really, really fit. She averaged almost a 120, which is an outstanding score. And what this tells us right here is she had a great score on the first one. See how the last three are kind of falling a little bit, or the last two are dropping. What that says is that's a perfect level to stay on, because you pre-select the level. So if you're a beginner, we're going to start with beginner, and you have 5 levels on each one. I think we've got a slide or two to kind of show that in a few minutes if we have time. Let me check the time real quick. Yeah. What this says, she probably wants to stay on that same level. But once you see all of these orange sprints catch up and you see a fairly straight line, that's your indicator. It's time to go up to the next resistance level. And these machines are built to give you, I don't care who you are. I don't care how fit you are. I don't care if you're a Kenyan that I've worked with before, Neil Fat Boer, who won the cross country championship in college. He did 5 reps and almost had fainted. It was that intense. But if you're 80 years old or 90 years old, you can do it. It's great for the heart and lungs. This is a very fit wellness director. Here's her first sprint 8 right here. She got 6 reps. And I mean, she started out as a very fit, competitive cyclist. Several weeks, I think it was 8 weeks later right here. This is a perfect example of what you would see if you have a cardio strip. You're going to see the rep go up, the heart rate go down. See how it corresponds with what we're doing with sprint 8? And we're forcing this right here all the way up. That's another example of a spin instructor, very fit. So here's sprint 8, and then finishing off with weights. And we recommend, it's not absolutely necessary, but there are some studies that suggest that if you do sprint 8 first to release your growth hormone that stays elevated for 2 hours, then lift weights, you're now basically going to the endocrinologist for injections of steroids and growth hormone and lifting weights while it's circulating your body. We see people 75 years old put on muscle that shouldn't be putting on muscle like they are because of this impact of growth hormone. But it's really, really difficult. I can't tell you how many bodybuilders I've seen over the years say, there's no way I could do that. And I usually kind of kid them and say, oh, I understand, but I've got 2 75-year-old guys that can do it. And they go, And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, I'll see them say, well, how did it work? And you go, I did it. And it killed me, but I could do it. And I'm going to keep doing it because my body's changing. I'm getting cut up and I'm normally this time of year, I'm bulking up with muscle and I'm gaining a lot of body fat, but I'm still gaining muscle, but I'm dropping body fat. It's amazing. It's like injecting growth hormone, except more effective. Here's another cardio strip. Claudia is a trainer. So you're seeing what Sprint 8's doing, then what strength would look like afterwards. She lost 13 pounds during the program. And we have I can't tell you how many trainers age 40 who I hear statements like, I feel like I'm going to have to eat 1 meal every other day to keep from gaining weight. Well, your program worked. And so just give it a try and see what happens. And invariably, they get great results. Here's another strip from Maria. So it takes a while to build up to all 8, but here's her first 8 reps. So you see the warm up, you see the sprint right here, a little bit of recovery, sprint, a little bit of recovery, sprint. Look at 3 months later. Her heart muscle now is getting so much stronger. She can work it intensely, much more intense. Heart rate goes up. She can work it harder, and look at the recovery. We're having a good recovery. When you put them side by side, let me go here first. So 6 months later, look at this heart rate, way up, big time recovery. There's a lot of research showing that the recovery is a very important measurement to tell physicians about heart health. When you compare these side by side, it gives you a great comparison of what Sprint 8 can do to your heart muscle and your lungs, which in the COVID time, having strong lungs is very, very important. Initially, she could get a heart rate up to 160. Her recovery was, in beats per minute during the 90-second recovery was 13. So she got her heart rate up, it would recover about 13 beats and back up again, back in. 6 months later, look at her heart muscle. Now, over here, this lady is a fit 50-year-old lady. She is a fit 50-year-old female. Over here, her heart muscle, she's now performing as a fit 35-year-old. She's changed her heart muscle by doing sprint intensity cardio, where she's recruiting a lot more muscle fiber. She's sending a lot of stroke volume through there to clean out the plumbing system, if you will. Look at her heart rate. She can get up to 175 now and basically average really, really high right here. Had one rep up to 180, but a recovery is 30 beats a minute. That's significant. This is what you would see in a high school 400-meter sprinter. This is extremely healthy, extremely positive because she basically changed her heart muscle and lungs doing Sprint 8. Here's another study. I love this study. This is, you see the warm-up? There's the warm-up. In the sprint, you see the recovery. See the sprint, the recovery. So you see they used 8 reps, very similar to Sprint 8, but this is not a Sprint 8 study. This is actually a study on people that had a new heart muscle put in their body, heart transplant patients. And the reason why in this study, the physicians believe that if you get your heart muscle working like it's meant to work, aerobically and anaerobically, that a lot of times people stop before they get to the anaerobic piece because they think it's bad. If you work both processes of the heart muscle, great things happen to the heart muscle when you have a brand new one put in your body. That's a powerful study to me that speaks to the safety of it and the benefits of it. What does it do for cancer? We can't say that it has an impact on cancer other than what general exercise does because we've not studied that specifically. However, there is a study in mice. And if you think about mice don't jog. They either lay there, kind of like lions, we sprint, grab food, or they get on those little treadmills, just like the human treadmills, except the small ones. And they're sprinting on those treadmills. And that's the way this group of mice were allowed to exercise that way, who had just had a tumor implanted in their body. So one group of mice with a tumor in their body were monitored. Tumors were measured during the study and after the study. And the group that had no exercise, their tumors grew. The group that did exercise with their tumors implanted, their tumor size reduced by as much as 50%. So I can't say that's going to happen in humans, but it has to be positive. It has to be a relationship there. And I wish that they would study that, but they're busy studying COVID right now. But one of the comments is pretty significant around here. This is a spokesperson. It says beneficial exercise at high intensity in order to provoke a good adrenaline surge. So remember, we talked about adrenaline. You have to hit that adrenaline surge. And what you do when you do that is it recruits your natural killer cells, your NK killer cells that basically identify bad things in the body and goes after it and kills it. Now, I've had a couple people say, I'm sure that works toward COVID. I can't say that, but I think it's reasonable to think about. This is what it looks like in real life. So those greens are NK killer cells. So they're going after a toxic cell. And this is what the researchers are saying in that study is that when you do exercise like Sprint 8 that gets this huge adrenaline surge, you teach the brain how to send the NK killer cells to eat up the bad stuff in the body. So I can't say it's going to cure cancer, but good things happen when you do Sprint 8 and similar types of exercise. This is what one class looks like. You can see down here at the bottom. This is Martha, one of my good friends, all ages. People are proud of that sweat score. If you have one of these units at home or in your club, and I think the YMCAs may have some there, it's best to take a picture of it with some IT directors with some major companies in here like eBay and Apple and that sort of thing in club sports. And they love the app that Matrix has with this. And we'll Brad tell you a little bit more about the app, but they love it and they use it twice. And then they go back to what everybody else does. They just take pictures of it because visually it's a great way to compare your score. This guy right here is a champion Scottish Games thrower. 152 is really a tough average. It is he's cardio fit. You can see people of different age groups in there. Now the girl on the bottom right, I know she did it right. Because if you do sprint 8 correctly, I mean, I've had people come up to me. I was at a gym in Kentucky once, and a guy kept looking at me. He said, "Did you write a book?" And I said, yeah. And he said, "Man, I hate you." And I go, I understand. I hear that all the time. He said, no, I love your program, but man, do I hate it. If somebody says, "Boy, I like sprint 8, I always question, are they really doing it right? But when I hear, "I hate the program, but I love the results I'm getting," that's what you hear. That's what you hear. It's 20 minutes. It's not so fun. I dread it. Everybody that's been doing it a long time seems to dread it, but man, life is good. The moment it's over with, I don't care what type of problems I have. When I do sprint 8, I don't even know what the problems are when I get through. Life is just so good afterwards. And to bring it up, we tested dopamine on 2 people. It doubled in one and almost tripled in another. So the love hormone, the hormone that makes us relax, makes us giddy even. That hormone that, Parkinson's is a dopamine related disease. But what happens is when you release that huge amount of hormone, you just feel good. I can tell when people leave the gym, they've done sprint 8 because their legs are a little wobbly, but they have a big smile on their face. All ages can do it and benefit. This is Martha. I want to just show you this, and we're almost to the end. Martha's basically a gym rat. Club Sports managed the spa there. And for several years, she and her husband just moved to Las Vegas. But anyway, she said, "I have 6 pounds I can't lose. I got 6 stubborn pounds. I can't lose it." She's the kind of person who would do 2 or 3 classes, lift weights, and then go jog 5 miles. I mean, she was a total gym rat. She asked, "Well, sprint 8 works." She started doing the class and it worked very, very quickly. If you take a look at her cholesterol, it's pretty typical of what we see on most people. Her HDLs are increased by 10 points up to 74, which is a pretty high level. Or her LDLs, the bad cholesterol, decreased by 31 points. But after 1 year, her HDLs got up all the way to a 93, which is tremendously healthy in most physicians' minds. She reduced her body fat by 11%, and she lost her 6 pounds. What happened to her? She met Boris in the sprint 8 class. They got married, had a privilege of going to a great wedding. They just moved to Las Vegas, good friends. But, the dopamine thing, right? It has a lot of positive impact in many different ways. So let me show you how not to do sprint 8 real quick. We don't want you doing it this way. We're going to show you how to do it. Then we'll stop for questions. So we don't want you doing sprint 8 this way. That's how not to do it. This is what it looks like. This is a sprint 8 class. This lady right here is Mila. I just saw her a couple of days ago at Club Sports, and she's the most prim, proper legal secretary you've ever known. She would never get on a machine and grunt, but this almost makes you have a few sounds. It just happens. If you're doing it correctly. So at this point, let me just I'm going to put this up. Brad, you may want to, and Paul, you may want to jump in and describe some differences on different modalities and like the new control panels. I've not seen all of them yet, but I hear great things. Or we can open.
There we go. I was trying to get unmuted here. So just kind of going over the options that are available in the store at BGI. You know, we have a number of different treadmill options. Everybody knows what a treadmill is. The Ascent trainer is in the middle there. We have both Ascent trainers as well as ellipticals that have the ability to do Sprint 8, as well as upright bikes and recumbent bikes. Those are the ones that are going to have the different console options, whether you get a real basic console or you get a touchscreen console, you know, that's 10 inches, 16 inches, or 22 inches. Those will have the actual Coach by Phil and the sweat score integrated into them, anything with a touchscreen console like you saw in some of the videos. And there's a nice advantage to having the Coach Phil functionality built in. One, you get to hear Phil talk you through it, and the first couple of times it's definitely important to understand why you're doing what you're doing, how intense it needs to be, and having Phil there to kind of coach you through it is incredibly important for somebody who's never done it before. And then the sweat score is a huge motivator. You know, it's hard to, you know, just work as hard as you can. And if there's no measurement of how hard it was you worked, you just say, well, yeah, I worked really hard. But when there's a score associated with each sprint, it naturally gets you to put a little bit more effort in and try to, you know, beat your past scores or your previous sprint. So it's incredibly helpful to have that integrated Coach Phil, as well as the sweat score functionality and the touchscreen consoles. So treadmills, upright bikes, recumbent bikes, ellipticals, and Ascent trainers. You can do Sprint 8 on any type of product. You've got the rower down there. You also see our what do we call it? Our crank cycle. Yes.
That's the thing myself.
Those will have the ability to get the intensity in and set the you know, the sprint levels on the computer, but they're not going to have the integrated sweat scores built into them. So hopefully that gives everybody kind of a brief look at what cardio pieces are available under the Matrix brand that you can do Sprint 8 on. And then I see there's some questions coming in, so I'm not sure. I'll take some of these and I'll pass some of them on to you, Phil, and maybe some on to Paul, and maybe even Connie. So the question here, the first one is it okay to do cardio on the non-Sprint 8 days or not recommended? Phil, I'll let you take that one.
It takes about 48 hours for your fast twitch fiber to totally heal and recover. So the whole reason we lift weights and train in the first place, as far as the muscle, is that you're creating micro trauma. We're slightly injuring the muscle to force it to heal back bigger and stronger. We're not pull it and tear it, but just at the cellular level. And so because of that, the fast twitch fiber piece, because we're forcing the recruitment of the 2X fiber, which is a significant amount of your fiber, it needs a couple of days. So you can do that. We recommend doing some fun things. You can do cardio on off days, but you definitely don't want to do Sprint 8 back to back. Now, I've experimented with it many different ways. And I can tell you, I did it once 4 days in a row, thinking about what if I could do it 7 days? Let me see what happens. I had to stop on the 4th day because I was so lethargic. Coffee, I could, no matter what I did, my brain would not wake up on the 4th day. And I've tried it a bunch of different ways. And what we know is we get great results on the sweat score when you do it that way. So the first day of the week, when you've had 2 days rest, usually that's a PR day for that week. You have the best score you've ever had. The second workout of the week can be close to it. But by the third workout of the week, where you've had a day on, a day off, day on, day off, day on, usually that workout is your lowest score of the week. And we think what that's saying to us is we're getting it right. We're getting it right when you do it 3 days a week. We're applying the research, and from the practice of it, we're seeing that in the practice as well. So you can do other things, do things for fun, height, you can do things, but you want to let your body, particularly the fast twitch fiber, get recovered before you hit it hard in a couple of days.
The next question came in was, is Sprint 8 aligned with Matrix only? And that answer is yes. Sprint 8 is exclusive to the Matrix product, although we do have some of the Sprint 8 programming built into our Vision Fitness line of products, as well as a couple of our Horizon Fitness line of products as well, but it's exclusive to our company, Johnson Health Tech, and it's primarily found on our Matrix products. Again, that's not to say you can't do Sprint 8 on other products, but when you look at how the program's designed and how the treadmills will ramp your speed up to get you to the sprint point during, so you don't have to waste 15 seconds waiting for your treadmill to get up to the speed it needs to be for your sprint, and you waste half of your 30-second sprint. Or even on the resistance changes on the ellipticals or bikes, having it programmed in so you don't have to manually do it is a huge advantage. It's hard to try to think clearly after a couple of sprints, just even to know when it's time to sprint and rest. And then the coaching aspect with the sweat score, it's a huge advantage for those doing Sprint 8 to have it pre-programmed in. Next question would be, would you recommend combining Sprint 8 with other HIIT workouts such as Orange Theory, for example? I'll let you take that one, Phil.
That's kind of a tough one. It just depends on if you're getting sprint intensity done or not. In most cases, I'm familiar with Orange Theory, great company. And they really work hard at getting things intense. But then again, there's a big difference between HIIT and sit. And Sprint 8 definitely accomplishes sit, the sprint intensity. So you're getting all three muscle fiber types. And it really just depends on that coach on that day and that individual, as if you're doing some of that during that workout. It's definitely a HIIT workout. So you can theoretically work your fast twitch 2A and not the 2X, and then take a day off and then hit it again and try to hit the 2X. But from what we're seeing, we get the best results when you actually do sprint intensity and recruit all three muscle fiber types, particularly the 2X that moves 10 times faster than slow, 3 days a week.
Next question, does it matter if you do resistance training directly after the workout or on another day? I have some thoughts on that, but I'm going to let Phil take that one as well.
It's really difficult to do before, but I can tell you we see incredible results when we do it that way. And everybody that tries it will tell you the same thing. It's extremely hard, but man, you get great results fast. You end up lifting a little bit less weight after. Now, if your goal is a bench press 500, I would do that first. So that what's most important to you, I would do first. But if you're, training for fitness, get your heart muscle, your lungs stronger, and trying to get the resistance piece done at the same time. And then we make an argument that you ought to do the stretching at the end of it with 30-second stretch holds. So you build muscle, you're working the muscle. So when they heal back, you're also getting flexibility while they're healing back to get the best results in the shortest amount of time. So basically, we've got the program down to 3 hours a week where you do, and this will be covered in the book. If you come in, you'll get a copy of the book that kind of explains what we do there on the strength piece. But again, you can do strength a bunch of different ways. But when you do it, if you're pressed on time to get everything done, you can hit the gym 3 days a week or hit your basement 3 days a week, sprint 8 first, then do strength, finish with about 10 minutes worth of stretching, and great that your body will change in a positive way.
Yeah, and I'll just add in from my personal experience, if you do Sprint 8 correctly, sometimes you're done. You just don't have any desire to, go spend another 20 minutes or half hour doing strength. I've always found it difficult to do that. But as Phil mentioned, it looks like there is some benefit if you do it after doing Sprint 8. But if you're crunched for time, and you don't have a lot of time, doing Sprint 8 one day and just having the time to do strength on the alternative day is better than not doing strength at all. So just from a personal standpoint, I've always found it difficult, but Phil sort of convinced me to suck it up, and so I've tried to do a little bit after doing a Sprint 8 now.
And I'll agree with you right there. I can tell you if I'm working out alone, it's almost impossible to do it that way. But when you're in a class, the class pulls you through. And that's why I love to see the Sprint 8 classes.
Any idea, does Lifetime Fitness in Indianapolis have Matrix products? Paul, do you know? I
do not. I was just checking out on their website and I don't see what their equipment is. So
I know that just my knowledge of Lifetime Fitness is that they may have some Matrix climb mills which don't have the Sprint 8 program in, but they traditionally have been buying from a different company and have not brought in anything outside the climb mill that I'm aware of. But again, each club may be a little different, and they tend to change things as years go by and who they're buying from. But that you would probably need to ask the club if they have them. I know we do have a relationship with a lot of the YMCAs around the country, and I know within Indy we at least we did have some product in the YMCAs in Indianapolis. Planet Fitness, any newer Planet Fitness club, a lot of them have Purple Matrix products in their clubs. As the Matrix brand grows, we continue to see more and more facilities implementing large amounts of Matrix products. So apologize, I don't have the answer, but it's more likely than not they may have climb mills and probably don't have the other modalities that would have Sprint 8.
Marion University has it.
How would you be able to incorporate this training into a training program for a half Ironman or full Ironman? Workouts are 6 days a week.
I would sprint swim and add a Sprint 8 on the days you hit the pool, and then finish off with your longer distance reps. And a Sprint 8 basically for most people would be 25 meters all out fast as you can after a warm up. Hang on the side or dog pedal back for 90 seconds times 8 reps. That's for most people. But if you're a very good swimmer, you have good technique and train, then you basically are going to have to sprint, swim, make the turn, and come back for 50 meters to equal the same intensity of guys like me swimming for 25. And so on the running piece, one of the best things that we've done to seem to help distance runners. I was worked as a strength coach in a college for a period of time. We had a Kenyan that won the conference championship as a freshman running against the other Kenyans. They were pretty fast guys. And what we did he did the Recumbent Sprint 8, and the Recumbent up here is you can stay on those things, watch a movie for 2 hours and get nothing out of it. But a Sprint 8 on this Recumbent will humble you. I mean, guys that do 100-mile events usually will do 5 to 6 reps and get sick. And you're working exactly the same muscles that propel the movement of running, just like a speed workout, but you're giving your skeleton a day off. So you can almost outwork the competition because you're getting the muscle work, you're working all three muscle fiber types a couple of days a week to supplement that for your runs. Or you can do it on a track. It's hard to do it on a street, but you can do it on a track, and it would be basically 60 meters up to about 150 meters, walk the rest of the way around times 8. And there's some magic in 4 150s. I can tell you that to help endurance athletes, but that would be a way to do it, to strengthen that component of it.
Next question, cycling trainers often measure watts and functional threshold profile, FTP. How much above FTP is sprint intensity in percent? Paul, do you want to take that one, or Phil?
Watts is, everybody in the US cyclists really understand watts. They relate to it well. Most of the world and most people that are not cyclists don't. That's why the sweat score is related to joules. It's just an easier way to look at it. So, your scores, 1 to 100, 1, 150, something like that, just an easier number to relate to. And so what that does is it keeps pushing you where you don't just maintain that straight line. So when you get up that straight line, when there's a straight line of all 8 reps, the same, fairly, not consistently perfect straight all the way across, but typically a good challenge rep would be 5 reps straight. You got 5 reps going straight. And then your last 3 reps, no matter how hard you're pushing, you're trying with everything you have, and it just drops. It just slows down. That in many respects is training success, that your fast twitch fiber is no longer helping you propel the movement. You only have a little slow twitch left propelling it. So by using the joules and using the sweat score measurement, that constantly pushes you to challenge your body to go harder. And it gives you a measurement to say where you are, because there's sometimes I've been on the sprint and go, oh, that was a good one. And I look down and go, well, that wasn't as good as I thought it was. And it keeps you honest. The sweat score really does keep you honest.
Yeah, I would also just add that, your goal when you're doing Sprint 8, let's say you're doing it on a indoor cycle or a recumbent or an upright bike, your goal is to work as absolutely hard as you can for 30 seconds. And if you feel like, oh, well, that was easy, I could have done 35 seconds or I could have done 45 seconds, then you're not activating all 3 muscle fiber types. You're not achieving Sprint 8. You literally want to go 95 to 100% of what you could possibly do for those 30 seconds and then recover for the next 90 seconds. And so I think that's probably the best way to talk about Sprint 8. And watts, functional threshold power, heart rate, all those things. Ultimately, if you can go 31 or 32 seconds, then you need to step it up. 30 seconds and done, and you try to be able to repeat that for eight sprints.
Right, that's a good point, because the perfect sprint would probably be somewhere around 26, 27 seconds. You're pumping as hard as you can, but it just starts slowing down. That means you've totally pumped it out for that cardio sprint.
How would I incorporate Sprint 8 into a long distance half marathon plan?
I like to recommend 2 days a week as a supplement. And basically it's a speed workout without going to the track, if you do it on the recumbent. If you get all your cardio from running, however, you're not getting all the support muscles that you need, in my humble opinion. The perfect machine to support runners, and they hate it. Every runner I know hates the recumbent, but it's the recumbent cycle. But think about the motion. You're working exactly the muscles that propel the movement of running. It does great things for your brain, nervous system, muscle connection, because you're going hard and fast. So the neuroplasticity piece is you're building your brain to recruit more support fiber when you surge. So a lot of times the best way to get faster is to break your race up into parts and run that piece of it just a little bit faster. No matter if it's a 200 meters, 400, marathon, half marathon. And so you got to, but everything we know in sport specific training is this: a quarterback has to practice throwing the ball. He can't do other things. He can do other things, but what's going to help him throw the ball better is throwing the ball. What helps you run distance better is you've got to run distance. You got to run once long per week, no matter what. Got to get that long run in, and then you do the pieces to build up to it through your training plan. But if you can supplement Sprint 8, particularly on a recumbent cycle, 2 days a week, you'll see a remarkable difference. One quick story: I had a good friend of mine, was a distance runner, endurance guy, and trained for half marathons. He stopped everything for 2 weeks, just did Sprint 8 to just see what it would do. He called me, he said, you're not going to believe this, but I looked down at my watch and I thought it was broken because I was running my mileage a minute a mile faster and had no idea. It does great things for your nervous system, your inner ear for balance, does great things to help for endurance athlete. And where endurance comes from is your ATP producing mitochondria. The number one way to build more horsepower, to have more endurance, is Sprint 8 to build mitochondria, but you still got to get your long runs in.
The next question: are there any studies on the Sprint 8 program and benefits for Parkinson's patients?
I can tell you this. We applied for grants. One of the physicians on the research committee at King's Daughters said, this is the cure for Parkinson's disease because it is a dopamine related disease. And you got to get a grant. We applied for grants. We hired a consultant to help us get the grant, who was always successful. But the word came back is, and I hate to say it, but the word came back that there's a company that's making $6,500 to increase dopamine with their drug. You're not going to get the grant. They have lobbyists. Exercise doesn't have a lobbyist, which is really unfortunate. And over the years, we've tried to open opportunities. Would you guys take a look at this? We can set this up for you. But right now, there's no interest in looking at that form of exercise. They will look at some forms of exercise, which when a guy like me looks at that and go, that's not a serious study. They're just looking at activity plus a little bit. But if they were to look at true sprint intensity cardio that recruits all three muscle fiber types, that forces your brain to do great things and forces a lot more blood going throughout your body, your brain included, great things happen to the body. So I wish I could give you a couple of studies and say, yes, it definitely does, but I can't. I would love to, though. I promise you.
Have you talked with Rocksteady Boxing Organization for Parkinson's?
We have not.
And that is all the questions that have been posted so far. I guess I would suggest if anybody else would like to ask any questions, please do so now. We are going to, again, be down there, what is it, the 26th, 27th of January? Is that correct, Connie? Hope you're muted, Connie.
Yes, it's on the 26th and 27th. In fact, I'm just putting in the link in the chat right now that people can go to register for those.
And please come and give the Sprint 8 a try. Just a couple of reps. We're not gonna push you beyond what you can go, I promise you. But we're gonna help you push yourself. But this is a Sprint 8 is really a you versus you thing, and you see that when you do it. But come and give it a try. That way, you really kind of understand how it can work. And if you can't come, just stop by BGI anytime. They'll let you jump on and try a couple reps.
One quick question popped in. Is it on ellipticals and in person? And the answer is it is definitely in person. Phil will be there. Myself, Connie, and Paul will all be there. And Phil will run through his presentation, and then usually we do a little bit of coaching with those that brought their workout clothes. We walk them through a couple of sprint eights on any modality. If you want to hop on one of the ellipticals or you want to do it on a bike or a treadmill, we'll kind of get you started, let you experience it. And it's usually a pretty good time for anybody that, can make it. And it's definitely a great learning experience and a great way to experience sprint eight on the Matrix products. And that is
I'm looking forward to being there.
What's that?
I'm looking forward to being there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all I have. Paul, Connie, anything before we go?
I'll just say thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see some of you, if not all of you, in person in a couple of weeks. Or if that doesn't work in your schedule, feel free to come to our stores anytime and work out on some of the equipment to get an idea. The classes that we've got set up on the 26th and 27th, the 26th is at our Greenwood store on County Line Road, and it's at 6:30 on the 26th, so 2 weeks from tonight. And the other one is 2 weeks from tomorrow on the 27th, also at 6:30, but that's at our North store on 82nd Street. So those are in person with Phil, so you get to meet him in person and have him personally coach you through some workouts, so which is fun. It's always a good time.
Also in the stores, you'll receive one of Phil's brand new books he just finished up. So.
Yep, those should be hopefully shipping out to you next week, Paul.
Hope so.
I saw a couple of emails on that, so I know they're going. It sounds like.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I guess that will wrap this up. Thanks everyone for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks, or come visit our stores and try it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Take it easy, Paul. Connie, thank you for setting this up. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you,
You're
guys.
welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.